All right, so I have V here. You all know me, Kelvin, J-Start, Jumpstart Your Japan Career. I help early career professionals start their first job in Japan. And V's from England. UK. I met him. When did we meet? 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And I'm gonna ask him some questions, find out how he first landed his job in Japan and what his Japan story is. So V, if you could just briefly introduce yourself, where you're from, what's your professional background, and how did you end up in Japan?
Sure. So my name's Viran. I came to Japan 10 years ago in 2014 on a scholarship program. So I had graduated from university in the UK. I became a high school teacher and I won a prize for British people. So there's something called a Daiwa Scholarship. And every year normally around 6 people are chosen who are under 35 to come to Japan for 2 years, learn Japanese the first year, spend a month on homestay, and then work on an internship basically for 6 months somewhere.
Oh, nice. So were you always interested in coming to Japan, or what was that? What made you try out for that scholarship at the first place?
So I had spent my second year of uni in California, and someone I lived with was Japanese. And when I graduated my bachelor's, I came to Japan to visit him for the first time. That was 2008, and I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to live here one day. And I kind of, between the period of me graduating university and becoming a teacher, I had actually applied to jobs in Japan as like a teaching English,
Interesting.
what's it called, TESOL kind of teacher.
Right.
And then I also applied for the United Nations University as well as a researcher. And both times I got rejected. The UNU was fine because I got like an interview.
Okay.
But with the English teaching, even though I had like a master's degree and a teaching degree, I couldn't get a job.
Okay.
I think mainly because my name is not white and my face in the picture is not white. Like, honestly, I think that had a big thing to do with it.
All right. And what was the kick? You said, you came and you fell in love. What made you fall in love with Japan?
I think it was just like how vibrant Tokyo was.
Okay.
And how like you could go out the whole night and it was like completely safe. Whereas I'm from London, and like if you get a little bit too drunk.
Wait, let me get that. Let me get that clear. It's the safe part or the nightlife? Which one?
I think the safe nightlife.
It's the safe nightlife,
because
right,
you can get drunk in
right.
any city, right?
True.
But if you let yourself get a little bit too free, you put yourself in jeopardy almost,
Right,
especially
right.
in a city like London, maybe even New York. But I think in Tokyo, you don't have to worry about like your personal well-being as much, and that sense of comfort just really appealed to me.
And you said how old were you back then?
I was 21 the first time I came here.
Okay. And after you came back, what happened after that? Like, did you were you teaching the whole time, or did you?
No, I came out. So I was a teacher. I came out in a scholarship program, did my year of Japanese language training, and then I did a homestay in Okinawa, because you get to choose wherever you want to go on a program. So I chose Ishigaki, which is like a beautiful tropical island in the south of Okinawa.
I wish I hadn't asked that question.
And then I did 6 months. This is back in 2015. I did a 6-month work placement at the Olympic Committee for Tokyo 2020.
Gotcha. Did you said 6 months? What you did?
Like a work placement.
Work placement, and what did you do there exactly?
So for the first 3 months, I was in charge of like international relations. So different countries have different Olympic teams, and we were liaising with them on like what kind of tours were available, what kind of like where they could practice, where they could hang out. And then for the second 3 months, I was in the editorial services bureau, which was basically, as like the only native English speaker at the time, I was just proofreading all of the English materials coming out of the Olympic Committee.
Wow. Wait. So, you're proofreading. Yeah. You didn't write them, but you were proofreading.
I would say like 80% of the time I was proofreading.
Okay.
And editing, but I wasn't like creating.
Ah. And what was your career like in Japan after that? Oh, wait. So you've been in Japan for how long since you came back? 10 years. Yeah. So you came back in 2014, you said, right? So you started off with a scholarship, and then you got linked to the Olympic Committee, proofreading all this stuff. And what happened after that?
So I guess I should clarify. The work placement for the scholarship was supposed to be a school, because
Right.
that's what I won the prize for,
Mm.
being a teacher in London. But I was a behaviour specialist. I was good at teaching kids in like not so disadvantaged communities, basically.
Okay.
And the idea was to come to Japan, learn about Japanese education, and take it back to England.
Right.
But Japanese schooling is nothing like English schooling, and I quickly realised that there was
In-
nothing relevant for me.
In a good way or a bad way? Or neither?
I feel like it's just different, right? I mean, in England, the way that I taught was, everyone sat in groups of 4, and it's a lot of group work is active.
Right.
In Japan, it tends to be like you sit on your own desk and you're all facing forward and you're listening to the teacher.
Gotcha.
And so for me, it was just something that I wouldn't be doing in the UK.
All right.
And I think the teaching to the test methodology here is a lot stronger than it is in the UK as well.
It means stronger as in rigid?
Yeah, I think you just have to teach to the test.
Okay. This is like test oriented. Okay.
Yeah, and I think in the
Gotcha.
UK, the education system is a little bit. There's obviously an element of you teach to the test to get your kids passing the grades, but you have a little bit more leeway in terms of like what you can talk about in the lesson.
Gotcha. I mean, because I've talked to V offline, not on camera before, and I know what he did, or until recently. Can you tell me a bit about that? Because I think you're the only person that I've met in Japan who came as a teacher, not as an English teacher, but teach at a regular school. Sounds a bit funny, but you get the drill. And then transitioned into something that I've never heard before. Tell us about that.
So I was at the Olympic Committee, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get a contract here.
And I think probably viewers want to see your beautiful face looking into the camera.
So I was at the Olympic Committee, and it was a 6-month work placement, and at the end of it, I needed a contract to get the visa.
Right.
And so, but the thing with the Olympics at the time is that all the employees were seconded from other companies, so they were all there on a short-term basis.
Right.
From like the sponsors, so like Dentsu, Asahi Beer, like Canon, the photographers, and so however long they stayed there, their salaries were getting paid by their parent companies, and they were also still on the career trajectory of that.
Okay.
If you're a local hire at the Olympic Committee, you were on like a very weird contract.
Okay.
Quite low paying, and it didn't change.
Right.
So whatever job you signed up for, you were going to be stuck. And so for me, it was 2015.
Okay.
I would have been stuck on one contract at one pay grade for 5 years.
Okay.
So the spokesperson of the Olympics at the time was a great woman, and she basically said to me, "Don't take a contract here."
Okay.
And she wrote me a letter to one of her contacts who ran a public affairs consulting firm.
Public affairs consulting firm. Okay.
So basically doing PR and communication strategies for government organizations. So she wrote me a beautiful Japanese letter, like with Olympic letter heading and everything. And I met this guy for lunch, and at the end of the lunch, I had a job.
All right. So that story right there is the epitome of how you network and land your next job. But you weren't intending to become a PR professional, nor you had any experience in the field before the Olympic Committee.
No.
And when the lady recommended you to connected you to one of her contacts, how did that feel? I mean, did you see yourself going into PR, or was it more like, let me have this conversation and see where this goes?
I really wanted to stay in Japan, and I needed a visa, and I needed a job.
Okay.
And I had a few different options. I could have been a teacher. I had a contract at an international school.
Right.
I could have become a recruiter, and I just thought I could always do those things in the future anyway. I don't know when this door is going to be open again.
Sure.
So let's just try it, and if I don't like it, I'll change.
And after that, I mean, what was your career like? How many years did you stay in PR?
8 years.
8 years. Long time. And are you still in PR?
This month I'm still in PR.
Okay.
This is my final month, I think, in PR.
All right. What's the big plan after that?
I'm going to focus fully on coaching. So coaching one-on-one. I've got my own company called the Guidance Smash, And I've started coaching in like late last year when I was on paternity leave, and then it's just kind of been gearing up. And yeah, it feels like the right time for me to sort of fully lean into that.
And taking a step back, you said, well, when you came to Japan in 2014, how much Japanese did you speak?
0.
How about now? Do you have JLPT? How good?
Yeah,
is
I've
it?
got into at the moment. I got into in 2017,
Nice.
and then for the last how many years is that? 7 years. I've kind of looked at taking the N1, but I just haven't been able to sort of motivate myself to think, is it worth doing it?
Sure. Aside from JLPT, how good would you say your Japanese is? Can you perform the same job that you do in English in Japanese? Or would you say it's fluent enough to get by and do things, but not fully operational in 100% Japanese environment in terms of writing and speaking?
I think it depends on how authentic you want to be, right? So in my industry, it's communications.
Okay.
So every word matters. And it's the same for coaching. I won't coach in Japanese, and I wasn't doing PR in Japanese. It was strictly English because every word is important. And so for me, it was enough to sort of be able to talk to colleagues and clients informally or for context. But if I was consulting or coaching and asking deep questions or giving advice, it had to be English because I had to be very conscious of what words I was using.
Sure. And well, I'm just curious with the Japanese ability that you had. What Olympic Committee? When was that? So you was
2015 to 2016.
Okay, so your Japanese was still.
Yeah, I remember being in meetings, and
these meetings were in Japanese.
These meetings were fully in Japanese.
And with the Olympic Committee, or what job after that?
So this is at the Olympic Committee,
okay,
with Olympic people plus sponsors. So fairly
Gotcha.
very formal settings in a boardroom, and then I had a manager and he kept saying ware ware.
Yeah.
And I didn't. It wasn't in my book, in my textbook. It wasn't I think I was probably N3 level at the time. And we came out the meeting and I was like, you kept saying ware ware. What does it mean? And it just means us. And I was like, that just really threw me off the whole meaning of what the meeting was about.
Sure. So you kind of got stuck with that one word that you couldn't follow and just get to think about it. How difficult was it for you when you made a transition from working at the Olympic Committee to having a full-time job at a PR agency?